time today in the center of Beijing when a man walked to the middle of the Avenue of Eternal Peace.
All right, welcome back to the Survival and Basic Badass Podcast, Kevin and Chuck. Yeah, today we're going to talk about the get home bag. Now, the get home bag is kind of, to me, the most important prep that you could have because it's going to cover a lot of your other stuff and just add that extra layer of security. I mean, I guess you could argue, well, no, my rifle is my number one item, and maybe you could say long-term food storage. I don't know, but anyway, it's right up there, top three. Give me that, all right? And you can argue with it in the comments, and I'd be happy to hear it. Happy to hear it. So anyway, so we're going to go through a list of why you need a get home bag, what is a get home bag, and what the heck am I putting in it? So all that's going to be covered, and we're going to go deep. And I know we've talked about this before, but like I said, it really is one of the essential prepping, things that you need and you need to work out for yourself. So yeah, let's kind of get started. So first of all, what is a get home bag? In my mind, a get home bag should be like backpack size, right? This is I have one that's just like a 511 tactical backpack, and I got it loaded to the hilt, but it's just a backpack. Now, other guys have some kind of hike pack, and I gotta say, if I lived like in Alaska, it might be like a frame, like kind of that I had in the Boy Scouts, a framed pack that's a little more substantial, right? That guy's probably, you do tailor it to your life, but I expect to be mostly in civilization, but I might be running into the trails to get away from civilization, but I don't expect to be in the deep woods or icy north or something like that, right? So again, you would tailor it to you. And
Right. You're not gonna have the same you're not gonna be packing jackets and hats if you live in Southern California.
Exactly. And that's the thing. Like I have stuff to stay warm, but I'm not being ridiculous like over the top. With staying warm, that over the top for me would be I'm not going to have gear like I live in Chicago or Alaska that's the same as the guy who lives in North Carolina, right? That doesn't really make sense. It's kind of a waste. Takes up space in my car, takes up, All right. So, the first thing that always jumps out at me with people's get home bags, and this is the reason mine is a straight backpack, like a knapsack kind of thing. I mean, it's a little sturdier, it's maybe a little beefier, but it's, it's normal. Now, the thing is, you want to blend in, right? You don't want to look like, hey, that guy's got some good shit. That could be really important to me. Look at him and his big army bag and his, he planned ahead and he's tactic cool. And there's probably something in that bag that I want.
Right.
You don't want to be that guy. You want to be like, oh, I just grabbed whatever I had in my car, threw my laptop in here, and I'm going home.
Right.
That's I think how you want it to be. So I don't know if you saw the video. Where mine is like a light blue. It's not a bright color. It's not flashy or draw attention. It's very subdued, but it's still not like OD green, and it's not black. That actually is intentional. I did that because again, I don't want to be screaming, "Hey, look at me. I'm prepared and you guys all are not." That's not who you want to be. So that's the first thing. Again, maybe if you're lost in the woods in Alaska, you and well, one, how many people are you running into if you're lost in the woods? Probably not that many. Two, other people are probably prepared to that level also. I can't imagine you live in the middle of nowhere and that other people aren't as prepared as well, or life doesn't work out so well for you.
Right.
Well-made bag, nondescript. That's what I see here. So that's definitely the way to go, in my opinion. Now, mine is made by 511 Tactical. What's weird is I bought it at like a Gander Mountain or something, but and I saw it, I was like, that's perfect. And it was reasonably priced. I think it was like 59 bucks. It does have the camelback, which definitely sets you above other backpacks.
Mhm.
That water bladder that fits in the back and has a line that you can kind of run
Right.
your mouth while you're on the go. But having that extra water storage is gonna pay off in my book. To me, that's almost essential. I really like that. To me, that's a big benefit. Carrying a lot of water bottles is not an easy feat. Um, so that's something, you want to be aware of. The Again, I looked for the bag. I was trying to get like an image for the cover of the podcast, and I was like, "Oh, I'll just search it out." I could not find one for sale at all that was in like a reasonable color. They were
Right.
black or OD green or camo. 511 did not have a single thing anywhere I looked online. I could not, and I'm searching like colored 511 bag, like
Right.
thing, and I couldn't find anything. So maybe that doesn't exist. Maybe you need to find something else. If I didn't have a choice, I probably would land on black and just look like a normal knapsack, and you do what you can do, and black is definitely available. So
Right.
that's something. Kevin, do you have a get home bag in your car or in your vehicle or multiple?
Believe it or not, I do not have a packed get home bag in my car. What I have is a box of things that I need and a backpack.
Okay,
Um,
that
what
works.
what that m- what the intention is with that is that I'm not gonna just grab the bag and be ready to go. I'm gonna pick and choose what's gonna go in there. I don't want to be
100%.
carrying more shit than I need. I'm not gonna throw, jumper cables in my backpack, but you want to have access to stuff that is going to keep you warm when it's
Mhm,
cold out. But if
mhm,
it's 90-degree day in August, you're not going to have that stuff in your bag. You don't need to be carrying sweatshirts and
100%.
gloves and all that shit around with you.
I I
Um,
I think when the moment comes, I plan to immediately open it up, kinda go through, "All right, what's gonna be relevant to this problem?"
right, right.
And
A lot of
that's
this, a
yeah.
lot of the stuff that I have in the bag is going to be stuff that I might use just in my car, like a first aid kit. You know, I have that in my car that might go in my bag
Right.
if I need to head out. But, I'm gonna have access to that at any time. Just
And you
like,
might
you
yeah.
know, survival knife and extra socks and, you know, that sort of thing. There's gonna be stuff that I'm gonna use more than just, in that bag that I might just use for my day-to-day life, that I have access to in my vehicle, but the bag is gonna get packed with what I wanna have when it's time to go.
Right. And that's the thing. I mean, I definitely would clear out my bag of anything that I'm not going to use or need. Plus, honestly, taking the 2 minutes to go through it and and refresh yourself with what's in there, what's gone bad, what's
Right,
whatever is going to only help you because you obviously don't want to carry something that's not going to be practical,
right,
um,
right.
that would be a waste of your effort. So, all
Yeah,
right. So, a nondescript bag, like you said, they've paid off. Like we've been out, we'll go hiking or something, and the kids are falling down. Oh, I need water. Oh, whatever, and then having, oh, I have some bottled water in there. Now,
mhm,
again, if I'm the dead heat of summer going on a big road trip in July, I actually throw a case of bottled water in the back of the car.
yeah,
And now again, I'm not carrying that on my get home, but I'm gonna have everybody hydrate before we go and maybe,
right.
you
Maybe
know,
grab a bottle
and I'm
each
gonna
for the
carry
road.
what's appropriate, what I can carry, right?
Mhm,
Um, that's something to think about. Now, maybe your get home bag, if you have little kids, you have, other people with you, you need to accommodate for them and make sure that they have what they need and, supplies for them, maybe a sweatshirt for the kids, maybe, that kind of stuff.
yeah.
So, all right. I mean, I don't want to make the suspense too long. Now, what are some emergencies? Because I do want to get into what's actually in the get home bag. in a
Mhm.
second here. But what are some of the emergencies that even come up? Like, why would you need a get home bag? Well,
Yeah.
one, you could just break down, right? Your car could break down, and maybe you don't want random people to pick you up, or maybe there is nobody to pick you up right there,
Mhm.
the cars that stop, and you don't want to be desperate, right?
Right.
That's always the thing. It gives you options. The big prepper thing is, oh, well, what if the grid went down? Well, maybe I'm out on vacation, the grid goes down, and I run out of gas. Well, grid goes down, they're not pumping gas, right? That's
Mhm.
the big thing. And that kind of thing. Maybe something happens and a road actually gets blocked. I remember in DC about 2-3 years ago, coming home, there was a big snowstorm that shut down the highway 95, or whatever runs right through the edge of DC. I think it's like 495 or whatever, but it stopped, and people had to sleep in their car. It was like 14 or 15 hours in their car.
Mhm.
And turns out people didn't have gas for that.
Right.
You don't that kind of thing, you don't plan, "Hey, I'm gonna get gas at the next light, but if I have to leave my car running with the heat on, I might not be able to make it 14 hours."
Right.
And
There
yeah,
Yeah, and there was a situation a few years back in Chicago where that happened. A few years, it was probably a lot longer than that, but it was like snowstorm, and I don't know if everybody's familiar with like lake effect issues with uh, with snow. It'll do like a foot an hour.
yeah,
And so basically, the highway there just stopped. Nobody was moving anywhere, and the snow was building up, and people were running out of gas, and they were moving, like getting into another car with somebody else, and
yeah.
then they would run out of gas, and then they move up to the next car, and they'd all get together and stay warm. But there's a certain amount of time where everybody's out of gas. And what are you gonna do? You
Right.
gotta you gotta
You know,
keep moving or stay warm inside.
I gotta say that's a practical tip of the pros that I wouldn't have considered.
Mhm.
Like, if you're in that snowstorm, maybe you see a car with just one person or two people in it in front of you. Maybe you go tap on their window. Hey, why don't you guys sit in my car? We'll run the gas out here, and
Mhm.
then we'll swap to the other car, or halfway through, or we'll run mine halfway down, and then we'll run yours halfway down.
Right.
And, that kind of thing. Maybe you can work together. Turns out prolong,
Yeah.
goodness, right?
Right, exactly.
That's something to consider. We could run mine down till the fuel light comes on, and then we'll run yours down till then. And that way we can at least drive out of here if it ever
Right.
clears
They ever
up,
clear it up.
like we don't have to go to zero if we work together. I mean, that's smart, like outside the box thinking that I gotta say, I don't think it occurs to everybody because
No.
we're so conditioned. Stranger danger,
Right.
don't. And then of course there's always the big, the number one prepper novel. Every apocalyptic event scenario is, well, an EMP, right? What if
Mhm.
everything shuts down?
Right.
Um, Again, even if an EMP doesn't take out all the vehicles, maybe it takes out pumping more gas. And if it takes out pumping more gas, you get halfway home from your long trip and not all the way home because a lot of
Right.
people don't really keep their tank pretty full.
Mhm. Right.
They go right to the limit, So
Mhm.
these are all the things, right? These are the reasons we have a get home bag, and that's what I got on that. But now let's kind of dig into what is in your get home bag. Now, before I get started, though, well, is I have a caveat. I have my everyday carry, and my everyday carry items are not in my get home bag, right? Because they would be in addition because I'm already carrying them.
Mhm.
So if you carry a handgun all the time, then that's not going to be in your get home bag because that's something you already have with you, right?
Right.
So same thing in my vehicle. There's always like a Leatherman or some kind of multi tool. It's always a Leatherman in my case, but I guess there's other brands that might be okay for you other people, but
Right.
not for me. Like Sog actually makes something good. Gerber, I don't even know if I can talk to you guys. We'll see. But something like that, right, is very useful typically. It is
Mhm.
for me. Um, Again, things you know how to use. I usually have extra magazines in my vehicle. Those could then be added to my get home bag.
Right.
Yeah, again, maybe you live in some crazy place like New York City and you can't have a firearm, then having maybe a tire iron in your car
Mhm.
and maybe having that straight bar is kind of the answer,
Right.
something like that. That's probably going to be added to my bag on the
Yeah.
way out.
By the
Maybe you
way, if you live in
pepper
New
spray.
York City, you can have a gun. You're just not allowed to.
Oh,
You know what I
oh,
mean?
oh, I see what you
So,
did there.
yeah,
That's yeah,
it's still a
yeah.
if I lived in New York City, I think that might be something that I would have in my car.
Possibly have in your
Yeah.
car? Yeah. I know that's everybody's like, "Oh, you have to take that gun out of your car before you go to the city. You're not allowed to have it." And I'm like,
Mhm.
"That's probably
Do
where
you
you need
have to?
that's probably where you need it." Kevin, let me stress that we are not lawyers and this is just for entertainment purposes.
Yeah,
And
that
that this is yeah, no,
yeah, that's right, that's right. Don't
Kevin,
listen to anything we say.
anything we say could be, you know, used the wrong way. Um, all right, you just had to put that out there. So, with that said, what else would you maybe have in your in your bag, Kevin? Or well, wait, what do you have anything else with your everyday carry? Like some people carry a knife,
Yeah, I mean, that's the
maybe
basic
pepper
stuff,
spray. Yeah,
knife, some you carry a multi-tool, I don't carry a multi-tool on me, I carry it in my
right,
vehicle. I carry a pocket knife, and that's pretty much it.
yeah,
Nunchucks, obviously a
right,
great option.
yeah.
Legal in New York State and most states now.
They're legal in New York now. They were not when, like, right before I left is when they changed that law.
Yeah.
They brought them back into to regular circulation. Now, me,
Mhm.
I would just take an eye out, but maybe you guys, that's a little something better, right?
Right.
So,
Right.
all right, we have,
So
yeah,
one of the things that is on my list is top of my list is socks and shoes.
mhm,
Wool socks is there's nothing worse than wet feet. And every day I wear hiking boots. That's my standard footwear wear with work and that sort of stuff. But you know, which is great. And you can walk on the road just fine in hiking boots. But I also carry a pair of running shoes. That way, you know, if you're on the road, that's better footwear than hiking boots. If you're off the road, that's not the ideal footwear.
right. Yeah,
But those
having
are 2 big things for me is socks and shoes. I mean, I everywhere I go, anytime I go hiking or anything like that, I always bring twice as many socks as I need to because just being able to take wet socks off and putting dry ones on, makes a big difference.
100%. And a lot of times when people are traveling, like you're heading to a wedding or something like that, and you might be wearing your dress shoes, and it
Mhm.
might be like a 3-hour drive, and you're in the suit and you got your dress shoes and whatever. You don't want to be stuck where it's like, oh shit, I have to walk home in
Yeah.
dress shoes, or worse, your wife in heels, or
Mhm.
something like that, right? That's going to be traumatic. So throwing, if you know you're not wearing comfortable, capable shoes, making sure that you have some kind of other shoes in your car is going to be go to. Now, me, my job, I'm never not wearing comfortable shoes, right? This is like the super rare exception.
Mhm.
I'm always wearing shoes that I could walk home, not because I'm cool like that and I'm always prepared. It's because I like to be comfortable. Lazy guy. You know how
Right.
it is, right? I'm a comfortable guy, and but the rare exception that I'm driving in my suit or whatever, then I can, do that. Make sure the extra shoes are in there. If your daily life has you wearing a suit every day or dress shoes or whatever that kind of thing, make sure that you're keeping an extra pair in the car because that's always going to matter. Even if it's walking 2 miles or 3 miles to a gas station because you ran out of gas. Now I know we all keep our gas tanks full and that kind of thing, but I'm just saying just in case. And,
Right.
sometimes shit happens. Sometimes the car breaks.
Yeah.
Uh, the wife, we have a minivan that we bought. She has a flower farm and carries flowers to places. And she was driving, and believe it or not, the bolt that holds the alternator bracket broke, like sheared off. And so it basically put slack on the belt, so the alternator wasn't charging anymore.
Mhm.
And it was weird. She was able to drive like completely home, which usually without an alternator, that kind of wipes you out. Like I don't like because it was like 20 miles. I'm
Right.
like, that doesn't seem like that should have worked, but it did. So whatever. So, I'll thank God for that, I guess. Take the win. Um, but that's the thing. The unexpected can happen and you're left on the side of the road,
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I
that's just
just bought a,
you don't know.
just happened to me. I, bought a brand new, not brand new, I bought a used car, new for me,
Yeah,
and, I had just made the 2nd payment on it, and the
sure.
transmission stopped.
You don't even need a transmission.
You
I
know
mean,
what I'm
whatever.
saying? And I was in the middle of nowhere, and luckily I had just left a friend's house, and he just came by and, took me to, it was late at night, so nothing was open, but he came by and we got the car over to a mechanic shop, and he gave me a ride home. But, you know, that didn't have to be the case. I didn't have to
Right.
be close to somebody I knew.
No, exactly. So, all right. So let's dig in. So there's a couple of categories of things that we could talk about being in your get home bag. Now, again, I almost everything for security is in my everyday carry. Or like I said, maybe it's going to be some kind of weapon I'm going to find in my car, be it the tire iron or something like that. But, people always say, "Oh, a firearm and ammo." You may have extra ammo. If maybe you're a 9 millimeter carry guy kind of thing, um, then having, a 50 round brick of 9 millimeter might be cool.
Hmm.
Again, that's something you might say, "Hey, that's too heavy. Where I am, I'm not going to need that. That's not relevant. I'm not going to carry that all the way. That's heavy." But maybe you keep it. That's up to you. You get to decide. That's the thing when you give yourself options. Um, you could also look at like pepper spray, something like that. Those are the things you could have in your bag. Um, Next, I would say lighting is always crucial. My go bag has a headlamp,
Hmm.
and I actually have a bunch of these little LED like clip on like little press lights. And
Hmm.
it's funny because they like barely light up. But I gotta say, if you're trying to be discreet in the dark, having the tactical thing, it's
Right.
kind of cool because you can just like, all right, I can see what's going on and do stuff with it. That might be something to do. People do like candles and stuff. To me, that's not something I would do.
Hmm.
Not in my get home bag. I'm gonna have flashlights that are gonna last as long as a candle will. And if
Hmm.
you're like, well, are you gonna go 24 hours? Well, then I'm gonna bring extra batteries if I'm really feeling like I need a night light to,
Right.
get me through something. Anyway, you do you, right? Now, food. How do you do food in your get home bag? One, it's got to be something that's going to last at least a year,
Right.
right? You're gonna. I would recommend going through and making sure your get home bag is complete every year. Um, the just go right through it and just pull it out because you never know. Hey, I grabbed that first aid kit out of there for that time Jimmy skinned his knee, and or I came up on that car accident and I burned through the tourniquet and the quick clot and everything, and it's not there. So you want to make sure one, you replenish it as you go, but two, once a year, just put your eyes on it and make sure something didn't come apart and leak in there,
Hmm.
and ruin a bunch of stuff. You don't know unless you check, right? And if you were like, well, Chuck, I'm better than you. I check every 6 months. I say, good on you, right? Or maybe you change it out for the season. If the seasons change dramatically where you live, good, get on it. So making sure, you have your fall winter gear in there versus the other, that's something worth checking out. Um, Next, I would say so food. I would look for things you could kind of take on the go. Mine, I actually have a 72-hour food bag. See if I can find it quick. From like my Patriot Supply, and it's got like the whole, 72 hours worth of food easy, and that's cool. Um, Another thing I've seen is they sell these like big survival bricks that are like a giant granola bar that's 2,400 calories. I think I bought that again or something like that. That kind of thing. But you also want something like a couple of protein bars. But remember, those protein bars don't really last that long. So, think about what you can do there and what you can leave in there that's going to last. So, I have things that are more permanent and, you do you.
Yeah, you just
As
have
far as,
to be
yeah,
conscientious that the temperature in your car is fluctuating all the time. You know what I mean? You park in the sun and you got the green, the greenhouse effect going on, and
yeah, it's
middle
hot.
of winter
You're cooked.
and it's cloudy out and cars, 20 below zero. You have to be conscientious of that when you're packing food and when you're packing, especially water.
Yeah.
Another thing that I think is a pretty big deal is cash. Having an extra $100 in your bag is pretty big deal. You can, you know, you can hopefully use your card that you normally use. I barely carry cash anymore in my wallet, but
Right.
I do carry cash in my vehicle.
Yeah. Um, yeah. Bricks and MREs are nice, but no toilet paper. Well, the MREs I think have toilet paper, but I guess it depends where you buy them. But true military ones I thought had the TP. Anyway, Stanley Cook set. I use that. I have a bigger one that us got that I haven't made it to the bag, but I think I'm gonna keep this one in. Basically, it's got like two cups. The thing what I like to do, one of the secrets of the pros, is I put like instant coffee, like tea bag type things in there, or some like beef bouillon cubes, that kind of thing. You stuff them in there, and then it's, hey, I got flavor in there, and it didn't take up any more space.
Right.
So that's kind of cool. That covers food. I do have toilet paper in my bag. I wrapped it up separate just to keep it dry, with extra plastic. But you know, being able to poo in cushion luxury, that's it. That's a go-to,
Hmm.
right? Come on. Um,
I mean, it's seriously, what kind of men are we here talking about? I
you
just go with poopy buttholes, man.
poopy
That's the way to
butthole,
do. That's what a
live free,
man.
live free.
Hmm.
That's it. I went to the doctor the other day, and I was like, "Oh, I'm showering." And I'm like, "But I guess I don't really need to. It's not like it's a colonoscopy or anything. So whatever." Uh, but anyway, I guess that's wrong. Um, so that to me covers food. Now let's talk about fire. Fire is important. To be honest, I have like 3 lighters in there. To me, that's really your go-to, right? You should know how to build a quality fire. You should know how to, keep a fire going, what kind of things you need beforehand, that kind of thing to keep a fire going. I don't think we need to get that dramatic in that. If you do have matches, understand those little matchbooks do wear out and they get kind of soggy and soft and
Yeah, they're kind of
just keep an
bullshit.
eye on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're good when they're fresh and whatever. And if you
Yeah,
buy
and you
quality
can
ones, I guess
pay
they
a whole
last.
bunch of money
Yeah.
for the wet light matches, the strike on anything matches, and you can spend a whole lot of money on that, but you can just have a couple of lighters,
Yeah.
stick one in your glove box, stick one in your bag, stick one in,
To
whatever.
me,
Have
that's practical. Right. Again, it's cool if you're familiar with your bag. That's a big thing where like when when you do your annual check, it kind of reminds you, hey, this is what's in there, and you don't miss things. Next on my list would be water. Water's obviously foundation of life, kind of important.
right.
And so I have several bottles of water just right out of the gate because you want some water there, right? Again, you got to be aware, hey, is that going to freeze in the wintertime in my car, that kind of thing. be aware, pay attention.
Mhm.
Obviously, the bladder is not full in my case.
Right.
Um, I would recommend it, and I have not yet purchased. I want to actually do a show on it. Um, is they have the pumps that
Mhm.
the for while you're out on the go for the trail to pump to fill up your bladder, to fill up your water bottles. You want to make sure you keep those water bottles so you have the storage container so when you do find a good water source, you can, carry it. Um the I actually had this we had a listener send us a a water filter that's pretty freaking awesome. I know Kevin checked it out in a pond. We did a video on it way back,
I
and
did not get sick from it,
he
and,
did not
that
get
was a
sick,
pretty nasty pond.
and it was a pretty nasty pond all day. So, that's pretty cool. I'll see if I can find the link for that and throw it in the show notes. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, that would be a great go to. Another thing that I would say is you need to think about shelter. Now, shelter is tough. Now, shelter could include like a sleeping bag. I know my wife, now I definitely have some bigger than, I don't know if I have it right here. I have larger than, like they have this little thermal blankets that people like. They're kind of cool, but they make some like in between medium ones that are like this, the bivy bags kind of thing that have an actual like sleeping bag, that you go into
Right.
that are like the thermal blankets. They're like $10 versus a dollar.
Mhm.
That might make the difference in your comfort. I don't know. I know my wife we lived in New York, there was always a sleeping bag in the car. Hey, the kids get cold, the heat stops working in the car, they can just throw it over them and stay warm, that kind of thing. Because turns out people, you want them to always dress for the weather and be prepared, but people don't always make those choices. So to me, that counts as shelter, right? But having extra, mylar blankets, that kind of thing. They do a little secret of the pros. They do come in like OD green, and you're like, well, why would that matter? Well, if you were trying to hide from somebody with thermal imaging from a helicopter, I'm just saying, being under where you have no heat source because you're under a thermal blanket
Mhm.
and it's got a camo kind of color, that might pay off.
Smart. If you're on the
Those
run from the FBI,
might
this is,
might
yeah.
be for sale on Amazon for about $10 for a 3-pack. I'm just saying that might be cool. Um, just saying, I do keep some like this a version of paracord in there,
Right.
something like that. That, again, it's like a go-to. Uh, and some people do like small tent stuff. I don't know. I mean, I guess if you have the budget that you can get something really tiny. To me,
Mhm.
that's not in my get home bag, right? I know how
Right.
to make a shelter and I'm not willing to carry that much, right? Because I'm assuming if I'm hiking, it's more than a day. And it's got to be more than a day if I really need shelter. I'm just sleeping in the car and going in the morning.
Right.
Or two, if I really need shelter, I don't want to be carrying an extra freaking tent if I'm hiking that far. If it's like the 5-day trip and that kind of thing. Uh,
Mhm.
just putting that out there, right? Uh, Now, having like a raincoat or one of those ponchos kind of thing, not a bad idea because when things go bad, they suck. Um, you could kind of count under shelter, maybe under medical, but I always have deep woods off in there. Um, the hardcore bug sprays really pay off. Also, sunblock is huge.
Mhm.
Having sunscreen, if you live in an area like that, a lot of times a ball cap, that kind of thing will make a big difference. Those might be things you just keep in the car that, aren't like necessarily in the bag. That's definitely now first aid in my car. This is usually separate. This one I actually have in my get home bag as well as in my car just because it's important to me. But I have like a trauma bag
Mhm.
and now mine, I always do like homemade because I just want it to be what I want in there.
Right.
They sell them like pre-made and whatever, but I basically have like the Israeli bandage. I have shears. I have quick clot, and I have tourniquet, that kind of thing. Buy a quality tourniquet, that kind of stuff. Um, that matters, right? Having that stuff accessible and whatever, and if things go bad, it's nice to have it. Um, Next, I would say, what else we got? I wrote out a big list, so I'd
Hmm.
be on top of it. A lot of people talked about like tools and stuff. I mentioned the multi. I keep a foldable buck knife in my bag, and that's assuming I don't have something with me. Otherwise, like just on the well, it doesn't hurt to throw it in there, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, that was my attitude. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, my opinion is I keep a toolbox in my car. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the truth is it's probably not gonna come up that gonna need a Phillips head screwdriver on my
No.
walk home,
Okay.
but I don't know what the situation's gonna be, and it's best
Exactly.
to be able to make the decision right then as you're moving, you know?
Right. Now, some people talk about, I've seen other things in their bags like N95 masks. I don't have that in my bag. I do have them in my bug out bag, and like long term, I do have that kind of thing, but
Mhm.
that's not something I carry in my car. People talk about a bandana, they, what, when, the Yellowstone, erupts or something, you're ready for
Right.
the extra debris. You're right. You beat me on that one, and I'm sorry. I dropped the ball. It could be because I live in North Carolina that I'm like I might have some warning on that.
Mhm.
Um, but you do you. Again, I want access to that stuff, but I don't think it needs to be in my get home bag.
Right.
Um, People had
I mean, you have to be conscientious that this is a bag you're planning on carrying
that's what
for an
the issue
extended
is.
distance. You don't need 500 pounds of shit. Now, I actually went online and searched it out, and I did find a four-person car emergency kit bag that you
Yeah.
can bring with you, and it's only $240,
Ooh.
and it's full of subpar shit.
Yeah, I
So
have
you
quality, and
can
I put it
buy this
together for
stuff.
like 150.
Yeah, you can
And
buy this stuff pre-made and it's gonna be trash and you're gonna overspend for
yeah,
it. So
if you
just,
want just garbage in there, you could probably do it for about $50 at the
mhm,
dollar store. You could get pretty good. And I
yeah,
say garbage, I just mean not premium brands, right? I
right.
just mean pretty good. I do carry a little road atlas paper.
Mhm,
We are all so dependent on GPS in our phones.
right.
Um, so like it used to be, man, I can remember, I know I'm older than the rest of you, but I used to like print out a map of the route,
Yep.
and you'd be like, all right, I'm gonna go this road to this and whatever. And I'd have that. But we don't do that anymore. I mean, like I said, I don't know
Mhm,
if I can get to work without that might be a slight exaggeration, but you know what I mean, right?
yeah.
I couldn't get to, the local airport that's only an hour away without a map.
Mhm,
I just it's how we are. We're conditioned that way anymore. Um, but that's something to think about. How do I do that? But like I said, one of the big overlooked is always like bug spray, sunscreen. Those really matter if you're in the wrong environment
yeah.
and things go shitty. They talked about like bandana. I know guys used to roll up duct tape and have some duct tape there. I feel like there's not much I couldn't do with paracord that I'd be like, "Oh, I wish I had duct tape." Now again, does it patch a hole in something? Maybe all right, maybe I'm wrapping my boots, right? Maybe I
Mhm,
wear through the sole on my boot on the way home, but it just like yeah, it might happen, but it probably won't.
right.
Um, I do have a roll of like 3M, or actually, I think it's like Gorilla Tape in my truck.
Mhm,
So if it broke, yeah, I'd have that. And to be honest, I've actually made radiator hose repairs with it, like on the fly in my previous truck. So I mean, those things can come up and good. Uh, Somebody mentioned painkillers. I will say having like moleskin, that kind of thing in your bag. I do have um like in my car, I have a first aid kit that is not the trauma bag.
right.
And that first aid kit does have things like that, like aspirin, like Tylenol, like band-aids, and cuz yeah, that kind of thing, crappy footwear, stuff like that can end bad. Tylenol, something like that would be beneficial. I've seen guys do a lot of flavored water additives.
Yeah.
Uh, and that was the thing too. We talked about water. I talked about the pumps, the Life Straw, and I showed you I had a filter that was similar. But they also sell little packets of like they're basically like chlorine. They just say water treatment tablets,
Hmm.
and you can buy them as where they're like iodine, and they do that, or you can buy ones that are
And
chlorine.
whatever you get, you just have to know how to use it. There's
That's
different
it.
different processes for each one. Some of them you have to wait 30 minutes. Some of them you need to, shake up and whatever. But whatever you get, just, use it. Use it once,
Now, some people talk about, comms in there. I don't know. To me, that's extra space. If I had it in the car and I'm cool, uh, that kind of stuff that helps. But you can only do so much, right? You can only do the best you can, and you need something practical that's going to get you there. And to me, those are the practical items. So
Right.
I did put together a list, and it has all the practical items, and then I added some like wish I had kind of things that I might add to it. But again, I would kind of use your own discretion for like the bonus area,
Right.
because that's like you. It might pertain to you, like having extra diapers for your 2-year-old or whatever. Maybe that's a thing, right? Because that would suck if your kid's like blowing out, whatever. And, that might be something you need, but it's not something I need in mine, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I have to say I am extremely grateful that I don't have any kids under 4 or 5 years old anymore,
God, right?
Makes
I
life
don't
so
need
much
that.
easier.
I don't need that in my life. So, I don't know. It's a crazy world. But that's what I got. Just be prepared. We wanted to do an episode that kind of got back to the fundamentals of prepping. And when I looked at it, I was like, really this is the core of prepping, is having that in your bag. And that's the thing, like everyone's like, "Oh, I'm a prepper. I need ways to build a shelter and fire and whatever." And they put all this stuff in their house, and I'm like, "You already have shelter. You're in your
Right.
house. It's okay." And
Yeah.
if your house burns down, you should be nice enough to your neighbors that you can go over there and be like, "Hey, let me stay until I can get this worked out." Right?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe, I mean to go to the hotel tomorrow. I don't mean
Right.
like you're gonna, you know,
Gonna move in.
I don't know
Yeah.
how nice you are to your neighbors, but they might not like, "Hey, till we rebuild, let's
Yeah.
just, shack up here." Uh,
6, 7 months tops,
yeah.
maybe a year.
It's maybe here, my kids. Oh, and I have my dogs too. I just wanted to say,
Mhm.
hey, it's, that's how it goes sometimes, right? But I really appreciate if you guys like and subscribe. That really helps us out a lot. Um, that, would be great.
Yeah, I've also not seen very many, new reviews lately, so if you
Kevin, you
guys
need a
can add a
review.
review, that'd
So
be great.
a little pick me up. What
Mhm.
I did do is I put a link. It's not set up this minute. Well, the link is set up, and you can subscribe to our email list. And if you subscribe to our email list, within 24 hours from now, I will send you a get home bag checklist that you can, go ahead and just get that. Also, if you go to Prepper Camp this year, they don't even know if they have tickets anymore. You gotta commit. But if you come over to the booth and check us out, I can hook you up with your own get home
Own
bag
checklist.
checklist. So,
Nice.
I'm just saying, the things I do for you, right? And when I say hook you up, I mean for free. It's not going to cost you anything. So yeah, you just sign up on the email list, and you can go through it. You don't have to worry that you just tried to take notes up while you were driving, listening to the podcast. I got you. I'm worried about your safety. Now, if I was really worried about your safety, I probably would have told you that at the beginning of the episode.
That's true.
But, hey, I can only do so much. I'm just one man. All right. So with that, I really appreciate it. You guys have show ideas, thoughts, concerns, things you want to tell us. You can email us at preppingbadass@gmail.com. Again, check out the website, also preppingbadass.com. And it's also survival and basic badass podcast.com. But prepping badass is easier to remember, I think. I don't know. Anyway, so with that, I would say stay safe, and we will talk to you guys next week.